it. I'm staying strong, need to move on to be what I want. I'll keep dreaming on. I'm staying strong, need to move on to be what I want. I'll keep dreaming on. I've been dreaming on in my head like I've seen it. A life worth living is a life with meaning. I'll do what I love till my heart stops beating. I'm feeding this demon. Got a taste, can't erase bitterness in my face. Work a job every day till your dreams fade away like a card never changes.
And we are live. I welcome you all. It's been a week, unfortunately. Due to health issues, we've had to take off for an entire week. But we are back, we are live, and we're going to be doing a double dose of streaming. Why is my mouth not moving? Hold on. There we go. All right, we are live. Live. Yeah, how many times can I say that today? Yeah, we had to deal with some health issues that put us into surgery and had us also be hospitalized for a little bit brief amount of time, which is the reason why we did nothing this past weekend. If you did not tune into the messages, unfortunately, yes, I was bedridden pretty much up until Tuesday. So I am now out of the bed. I am now sitting to where I can do these. And we are going to do a live let's read of not one, but 2 chapters from 11 Kingdoms to make up for not doing last week. So we're going to be doing chapter 6 and chapter 7. So when we get done with 6, we're going to keep going on with 7. Until then, let me get up 6. I believe it is window 1. No, that's the wrong one. That's the other one. Okay. There we go. Legendary Heroes. Okay. As always, I welcome people to join in and chat. I'll be watching the chat. And I'll break at points during the story read to do... Excuse me. to do some of the read-throughs of chats and shout-outs. So yeah, feel free to chat and shout out, and we will keep going. Alright, report. Legendary Heroes. Accessing data, Onyx Tower, floor 50. Security cameras, additional source, personal journal entry of Jamie Eve. I'd be lying if I said my nerves weren't getting the better of me. If Rick wasn't with me, I think I would be pressing the lower 46 buttons on the elevator, and not the very last one, leading to the top floor. I feel the elevator tremble as it raises at the next 3 floors from my home at floor 47. I feel the warm hand of Rick on my shoulder as I realize the trembling in my own and not the elevator. Excuse me. Easy, Jamie. I'm here with you. Nothing bad is gonna happen. It's hard to take Rick's words seriously. I mean, I've lived here on floor 47 for close to a year and a half now. Many of the buildings saw that as the highest anyone outside of the cleaning crew would ever go. In the common areas, the rumor would spread on the top 3 floors of the tower. They say it's storage, others say it's where the company performs acts of black magic to confirm their lock at the top earning company of the world. The doors of the elevator open, and I look on at a large round room with a small wall on the sides and clearly a visible bathroom doorways. Huh. The room has a semicircular table in the middle, with chairs lining the outsides, as a holographic base screen on the ceiling set to be pulled when needed. 4 doors onto the terrace line along the building's exterior walls. It appears as nothing but windows, but with vertical blinds at the moment. A small table is set out of the way with foods and drinks spread out on display. I look around and see 2 people, a man and a woman, both on the balcony. The man is talking to the woman who is smoking. Outside did not set off the smoke alarms. I quickly recognize them as Mr. Williams, the company's lawyer of this tower, and Miss Gyrade, the company corporate spokesman woman. Mr. Williams waves at Rick, who in turn waves back to acknowledge my presence. Go ahead and treat yourselves to refreshments while we wait and the rest of your friends to arrive, Mr. Williams shouts at us from his perch on the balcony with Miss Gyrade. I'm going to take a quick hit of asthma med. See if that clears up this cough a bit. Rick must be in a hurry as he heads straight for the food and starts piling on food on a plate. You should eat, Jamie. We could be here for a while, and I doubt you ate much this morning, given your routine. Rick replies, shoving a piece of cheese and grape in his mouth. I can't swallow water right now, let alone food, I reply. I do end up grabbing a water bottle and try to keep my throat from being parched to find it painful with each sip. Yeah, well, your doc told me to make sure you're eating, and I want my staff healthy, so more so as you become the face of the game, Rick says with a chuckle as he nibbles on the roll of ham. The elevator dings and opens, and scuffled, old, dirty-looking man who I fail to recognize his first steps off. Ah, well, Rick, who would have guessed your little section would get such an honor? Pleased to see you again, Miss Eve. I look over the face of the man. It looks like he fits more with the gathering of the homeless people who roam the subway stations than the tower's top floor suite, and I still don't quite make him out. Have we met? At your interview, I was the designer there evaluating you. The man brushes back some hair from his face, and I get a better look at the face of the designer from before. Bart Hauser, Miss Eve. I'm not surprised that Masaru chose you. Or should I say your avatar for the face of the game, of course. I've checked things out from my office downstairs. I give him a puzzled look. He has an office in this building? I wonder which floor. Yikes. I guess the rumors of the lower floors are spreading. The 2 floors below us are offices for myself, Mr. Williams, and a few staff working on the basics of the game. Stuff like player interface, promotional team. He turns and whispers, even Gail has an office down there, but she never uses it. I turn and look a bit white at the idea of the face of the company having an office just above my bedroom. We just work from there, and sometimes we barely are in the office. So I guess it's sort of like seeing a vampire on a daytime stroll. Of course, you see the top level here, lovely meeting room, gorgeous design. Guess the other towers are like this, many of them dwarfing the skylines of their hometowns. I hadn't thought about it, but I guess he was right. A 50-floor tower that looks like a giant glass check mark on the city of the outside. The tall corporate housing and offices of the game staff and the massive enclosed park and recreation areas on the lower floor spreading across to the now constructed smaller tower, 12 floors, as a hotel getaway resort for the game's players. 11 of these towers, Emmy talks about their tower in Tokyo, even though she and Aya live in Kyoto with Masaru. So Master Masaru is coming in person? I ask at the very idea of meeting the game legend in person. Gives me a chill down my back. Nah, that guy seldom leaves his home. He's a bit of a fear of traveling so often, it's a challenge to cooperate to get him to come to international events outside of a video game conference or a video conference. His assistants usually can get him to take a bullet train to Tokyo, but he refuses to fly or travel by boat. Mr. Hauser claims with a laugh, but checks to see if Gale or anyone he doesn't want in earshot before talking about it. I'm sure Emmy and her sister have their hands full then. I try to lighten the mood, but I see puzzled look on Hauser's face. Emmy. Oh, you mean the characters that the assistants are playing? I shake my head in agreement. Yeah, well, those two aren't sisters? Those two aren't sisters. They're just really close friends. Emmy, as you call her, is called Keiko. Her friend Ushio is good at design herself. It's learned from Masaru. Keiko is the voice of the both, Masaru and Ushio. Neither of them likes to discuss matters openly. It also helps that she's fluent in English and French. Mr. Hauser explains in his own experience with the two have in past weeks come to know as sisters, while he grabs some food for himself from the platters set out. I watch as Miss Gyrade crushes the cigarette and tosses the butt over the edge of the building. You know, if an officer's below, he'll fine us for that, Mr. Williams explains to her as she sighs and walks on in. So tell them to screw themselves. Stupid enviro laws, keeping me from all the fun in my life, she replies in a snarky way. She moves over to me and looks me over. So, this is the girl, Mr. Williams looks to be answering her, now with a bit nerves in his voice. Yes, this is Jamie Eve. Her counterpart, Fawn Midden, is one of the 12 selected to be the face of Onyx Tower. I watch as Gale looks my face up and down. She's not a bad looker in real life. If the panel chooses, I think we'll need to set up some on-camera interviews, as well as in-character ones, unlike some of the others. I start to shake with nerves as her words strike me. She quickly grabs my chin, and I can smell the residue of tobacco on her hands. Stop shaking, girl. You and I need to discuss how to act and what to say in front of the lenses. You understand, girl? She waves a perfectly manicured finger in my face. I find the nerves I get worse, and my voice finds no means to escape until Rick pats me on the back. You'll have to excuse her, Miss Gyrade. The young Miss Eve has a bit of an issue with pressure, mainly that kind you all have chosen for her. Rick's words ease my nerves a bit. I'm not good at talking on camera. In many ways, this lie is very truthful. I thought under Rick's suggestion, I don't explain that I'm not good at any public image things that they have planned. While I'm getting more social these days, I still find it more enjoyable in both worlds to be spent most of the time. Well, you're going to get over it. I've been in this cesspool of a city for a week now, finding the best people to build your reputation, to fit the perfect image for the game, and you agreed to take part. So from now on, the spotlight is less the thing to fear than where the company will put you if you screw this up. She turns to the table and picks up a small tablet of the computer with several names and numbers. I have a team of 5 people who will run your life for you from now on. And when you're not working on the game, you will be working on the image we expect of you. So what fears you have, suck them up, or get out now before I have to go public with you in a promo. I find even Rick stepping back from the strong viewpoint to let her professional sense of the business flow first. Plow through the room and trudge us all by us all. She turns and goes to fix a plate of food for herself as the elevator dings. Two young Asian girls step out, along with a flamboyant guy and a slightly overweight woman in a t-shirt and jeans, and a plain-looking man in a golf shirt with a camera bag strapped over his shoulder. Good. The rest of the people are here, except for the old goat of Tokyo. One of the girls speaks up, and I instantly recognize the voice as Emmy. Or should I say, Keiko, who seems to be not only not falling for the force of Miss Gyrade. Madam, please do not call Master Masaru an old goat. He prefers, if you must call him an animal, it be a donkey. She smiles with an evil grin of manipulation, after saying one should suggest to address the greatest mind of the gaming world as a common ass. She turns and sees me and waves. Hi, Oni-san. It's good to meet you in person. Master's been difficult, so he wouldn't come, but Aya and I have come to meet you. Hi, Emmy. Or is it Keiko? Emmy is fine. I like it over Keiko. Isn't that right, Ushio? I get a better look at the other girl, who agrees with Emmy's statement. And I see neither girl is all that cute. Ushio's face, while somewhat still girlishly cute, is broken out with zits. Emmy, on the other hand, has one that one can call creepy look about her face, with a large grin and big eyes. If anime characters were real, then Emmy showed they wouldn't be so much cute and cool, but be more a little off the line being creepy and horror movie-like. Of course, Emmy letting her hair flop in front of her face, hiding much of it, in a similar way to a movie my grandmother once showed me of a creepy ghost girl from Japan, fits Emmy's look perfectly. Well, we have our work cut out for us, says the effeminate man, looking over my clothing, while I was distracted by Emmy. Where do you shop? Big and tall section? Seriously, show your figure a little, why don't you? As I start to whirl around and stop the pulling of my clothes, I feel hands of someone pulling my hair. In turn, I see the large woman running her hands freely through my hair. Your hair is a mess. When was the last time you had it styled? Or cut, for that matter? And this blackish spot, how horrendous. I turn to face the woman, only to be halted by flashes of my face from the cameraman. And then I feel it. The pressure. My chest throbbing. I start to stumble, only to fall into the arms of Rick, who pushes me back behind him. Back off. You're frightening her. This is too much, too fast. So you're saying she cannot cut it after all, then, Mr. Mathers? I remind you of the final decision to go ahead was indeed hers, Mr. Raid proclaimed sternly. Furthermore, this is just a few people from this company. Once public, the world will be treating her like this is 1,000-fold. Will you protect her then? I will. I'm taken a bit back from Rick's answer to protecting me the way he says. Even frightens me a bit to take action. No, Rick, she's right. It's my decision. I need to get used to this, I state, interrupting him. I need to say I'm nervous, but I must work my way through this to meet the goal before me. I pause and swallow air down my throat, trying to calm my nerves. Take it easy, though. Jumping through headfirst is just going to overwhelm you and your future. Rick explains with deeper concern. In many ways, he reminds me of my dad, who watched over me as I grew, trying to protect myself from dangers of the world as he saw them. But now I'm grown, and with it, I need to shake this anxiety to be able to do my job. I will speak up if I need rest. I turn and face the effeminate man and large woman. My clothes are the way because I want comfort while I work. These sweat clothes are perfect because I don't have to change after workouts. As for my hair, no, I haven't gotten it cut recently, but the color stays. I want it that way. Even I stand a bit shocked at my actions, to not let them remove the black streak from my hair. It has been a part of me for so long. I fail to see the smile hit Miss Jorade's face. Well, good to see you have some nerve after all. The clothes will only be an issue with events, should we take you to them. That is when we choose to not have you attend them as Fawn instead. The hair color can stay. We will make it your signature. But we will have to make it a little bit more manageable and neater. Carry on with these kinds of guts, and you should do fine in front of 1,000,000 cameras. Just as long as you remember to smile no matter how screwed up you feel. Things will work out. Do you understand? I nod, and the woman seems pleased with my reply. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to go read some messages from my office in Chicago. She takes her tablet out, and the doors, sets it down, and pulls out another cigarette, lighting it, and taking a long drag before she begins reading the tablet. Hauser walks up to me. Well, that's certainly a shock. You actually could withstand the pressure of gale force. What? I asked, puzzled in his words. The reason the woman is the company spokeswoman. Gail Gyrade is the inner working team of Black Clover, call her Gale Force, for the devastation she leaves behind by forcing the staff to press and bend her way in interviews. You showed her that you won't fall so easily. Mr. Williams coughs to have Bowser open up a room between us for him to enter. Miss Eve, I have several documents I need you to sign. And they need your approval before we go further. I hear Emmy shout across the room. Hey, Oni-san, when you finish up here, give us a tour. We will be having a meeting of the heroes later, so Aya and I will need to get in the systems around here. Bart turns and looks at the girls with red faces. I guess I should leave these two up to me. Or I guess you should leave these two up to me. I have some stations that they can use in my floor when it's done. I need you to join them in-game as corporate wants you and the other Grand Heroes to meet. They want to get some group shots. Also, they plan to judge you all on who would be best to fit the international campaign for the game. I stand puzzled at the idea, since back when I started, it was well known that the company was going to choose a computer mock-up character for the spokesperson of the game, but now I learned my role could not be from my region, but also I could be the face of the game worldwide. My heart suddenly begins to beat heavily, as if I have just run several miles. Rick sees color flooding out of me and grabs a chair, sitting me down next to the papers and a prepared plate of food. File source and accessing alternative source. Personal logs, Princess Fawn Midden. So we're switching from, I'm taking a moment here to get some water, but we're switching from real world to the game world. Chapter still goes on. It's just a switch in scenery. The game's look is nearly complete. Yet when it comes time for the meeting of the Grand Heroes, they place us into an endless white space. Despite the constant rushing of my head from the earlier in the meeting in the day, I was able to arrive fairly early in the meeting online. Excuse me. Finding only Emmy and Amayo there along with a strange, blank, gray man-like form, acting as a host for us. As I approach the girls, I see Emmy flipping through a collection of cards in her inventory, while Amayo is pulled out a blanket and is looking at each item in her supply, sorting them, and figuring out ways to use them. The gray figure, even though it had no face, seemed to turn at me and look at me. It speaks using a programmed, dull, monotone voice. Welcome, Princess Von Midden. Please make yourself comfortable while we wait for the meeting to start. Others will join you soon. I walk over to the girls and smile, and then shout out the computer commands. Computer access, sleeping badger dining room design, place in the area. The room flashes in light, and suddenly a fire pit, and small stage, and several tables and chairs nearby. I grab one of the chairs and sit down as Emmy and Amayo stand and look shocked at their faces. Big sister, you're a Genesis leader? The words of Emmy surprised me a bit, as I figured that other Grand Heroes would be Genesis players as well, and possibly most of us had the lead role of those players. I also noticed that the slight delay in speaking and the vocals I hear, as well as the translation it gave Emmy's choice of name, for me being changed through the system's new global translator, which can alter words to a 92% accuracy and play a similar voice and tone to the player of their hometown's common tongue. In turn, I get a hint. She will be now hearing my voice in fluent Japanese as well. Aren't you two Genesis players as well? I ask as hope and find answers to Emmy's surprise. Amayo is a Genesis player, but Masaru is the leader of the Gold Kingdom. I guess the statement shouldn't surprise me. The difference in power is great, though. A leader can access any item in the game system. Amayo can only gather ingredients and weapons limited to our kingdom that she may need. I chuckle a bit at the possibility of being only one of the Grand Heroes with this power, even though it proves pretty much useless in helping out and playing the game. Suddenly, the gray figure speaks, and drawing attention to the three of us. We in turn look at the new person to join our little meeting. Greetings, Prince Min Gang. Greetings, General Yuri Maikov. The meeting will occur soon. Please make yourselves comfortable till the others arrive. The first of the two, a young man dressed in a rather beginner-looking clothing, draped in red, walks up and looks at the three of us and laughs. Pathetic. Girls playing house, if this is what competition this game will be, I can't help but count the moments my kingdom will finally destroy yours. The large blonde man next to him is far more kept to himself as he walks into the fire pit, grabbing a chair on the way. He sits before it and lets out a warm smile, pulls out a mug from his inventory. Ignore the prince. He's still ticked off over the trouble he caused the company recently. So, he's on probation. Despite the translation software, a slight hint of a bad Russian accent is played off for me as the tall blonde general speaks. Don't need my equipment to defeat these women. I can handle any woman in a fight. I will never lose a battle, snipes the arrogance of Min. Once again, the gray figure greets another collection of newcomers to the meeting. Greetings, Duke Savo. Greetings, Prince Nassam. Greetings, Princess Grendel. And finally, greetings, Princess Cassandra. Please wait and with the others till the event starts. The first one to notice the group almost causes me to fall out of my chair. One of the figures addressed as the Princess Cassandra walks in. It's not human, but a massive minotaur of bulk. Her female form can only be guessed by the way her robes form a dress-like look over her bovine figure. The second most shocking of the four newcomers is a toss-up of a slimy red skin, faceless of Princess Grendel, or Duke Savo, who is, despite his human character, is walking around in scantily covered loincloth. The least noticeable of the group is a heavy-robed man figure of Prince Nasam, who, much like Mykov, proceeds to move in towards the fire pit and take a seat next to Min and Mykov. Emmy finds in the appearance of Cassandra a perfect time to goad Min off his high horse from earlier. Still think you can take any woman here, Min? Because Cassandra here doesn't cause you to piss your tunic. I can say someone here I know is stronger than her. I pray we get to face off in battle to show you how pointless your words are. I can't wait to shut your mouth, you irritating dusk princess. Min walks off into the area to avoid dealing with the constant taunts he's sure to get gained from Emmy. So the Red Kingdom is already trying to divide us before the game has even started, states Savo, who is stroking his beard with a grin. From my earlier glimpse, it looks like if Emmy was considered the most annoying of the group, then Savo isn't about to let his own words go unsaid as well. Cassandra shocks me. She grabs a chair nearby and smiles. Greetings, Fawn, from your western neighbors. She reaches out her massive hand, and I offer my own. It's a pleasure to meet you, at last, Cassandra. While I haven't met her, I have exchanged emails with her to make sure our border doesn't look too odd when the players move from one country to the next. Given it's also meant that I had to work with our eastern country neighbor of Red Kingdom, but men never replied to my emails, and it was left to a meeting of lesser members to work out the border together to be done correctly. Anyone have any idea what this whole gathering is about? Asked Grendel, who interrupts by the gray figure introducing more members. Welcome, Princess Kylie, Prince Malik, and Councilman Reeks. Please gather with the rest of the heroes. The meeting will begin shortly. I watch as an angelic figure of Kylie walks into the room, with her head stuck up in the air. With a strong sense of pride in her title, I can't help but notice I seem to lack when playing out my character. Next is a savage-looking Malik, walks in the room. While I've known a little about the other members of the four of the heroes for some weeks since the decision to create us, Malik has been a mystery since the White Kingdom he called home has had trouble getting things started. Lastly, I see a blonde, dashing, roguish figure that is my West Coast counterpart, Charles Reeks. Must have noticed me from looking at him, as his entrance in the meeting wastes no time to walk over to my chair and leans down, grabbing my hand and kissing it. At long last, my fiancé. We meet at last. The room suddenly is in shock at Reek's statement to me, but no one is more shocked than I am, as I quickly retract my hand with a sudden movement. Fiancé? I'm not your fiancé. I never agreed to this. I startled about to fall out of my chair, trying to get away from the pushy ally of mine. Chill, my dear. It's only fitting. Our alliance with Noyox and Azurfire be linked in such a way. Other groupings look about at their allies. Some look scared at the options should something like that be played out in the game. Hey, look here. We just met. It's not like this is part of the game. We don't have to play our parts right now, do we? I look around for support from behind my theory, but see, they are looking away, trying not to be caught up in the trap Reeks has placed me in. Panic begins to take over, and I begin to look for this support I got from Rick earlier, but I'm given a quick break when the gray figure speaks up. Greetings, all heroes. As you know, each of you has been chosen to represent the game of your kingdoms. All promotions will feature you, along with the characters amongst you, to represent the game internationally. To decide this, we have looked over your actions in the past few weeks, along with your character's design for yourselves. Each of you are being watched now by a collection of judges on a broadcast feed, distributed throughout the company. In the future, each of you will have such broadcasts following you, as it takes part in the game. For now, however, this broadcast is limited to only those set to vote on the game's idol. At this time, we would like to have you all choose a way to show off your talents of your characters, and the judges will look at you in 3 parts. First, your character's overall look. Second, how you play the character. And the last is the skill your character has in the game. To test this last one, we ask that you choose a task to prove your skill in playing the game. I, along with many in the group, sit back to see who goes first, to show off their talents before our mystery judges. But no one steps up for the first few minutes till the gray figure speaks out again. Since none of you wish to volunteer to go first, we shall start with the least experienced characters and end with the most. First up will be Prince Malik of Pearl Tower. The nearly naked Malik walks up in space of the room and stops. May I get a collection of targets to attack? The savage man has a polite nature about him, as he waits for the gray figure to respond. Certainly, it responds, and suddenly a collection of 12 wire-framed creatures appear in the room. The prince nods with a grin and pulls out a massive spear, then presses his fingers to his lips, making a whistling call. Suddenly, a huge cat that looks part saber-toothed tiger, part jaguar appears across in the room, which Malik quickly mounts and rides to charge at each target, taking them out hasty action. The speed of his beast and the accuracy of his blows with the spear keep the room quiet till the last target falls, and the gray figure speaks. Malik has destroyed the targets in the time of 4 minutes, 23 seconds. His character design is showing the hunter class, which uses his companion to build speed and power behind his blows. His fighting skills are on advanced levels for the game. Some, including myself, applaud Malik for his efforts, as the newest grand hero, but Min responds with a laugh and shakes his head. Pathetic. He reaches for a chair and takes a seat. I might as well wait. I know I'll be last, and I have to go on watching this sorry display. I'll die of laughter before any of your worthless actions. Emmy begins to speak up, but is stopped by the gray figure. Next up is Councilman Reeks of Azure Tower. Reeks stands up and walks over to the space, but I can't help but find myself a little shocked at Reeks as the second least experienced character in the game. As a member of Azure Tower, he has worked on the game longer than most. Yet of the other towers, he stands on a low experience of players. Excuse me, but this is to test the person to be chosen to the game's international launch. Am I correct? But in no way affects our current standing, correct? That is correct. You are already a grand hero, and that title will not be removed. These tests are merely to test the best candidate for the game's image. Reeks flashes a smile, exposing all his teeth, in a way that someone with a bigger plan can. There we go. Then I'll step down for the more beautiful star to allow to shine brighter in front of me. He walks back over to me. Princess Fawn, my lovely bride-to-be. Here is who I suggest the audience today vote for. She is an attractive, strong player, fitting what the players want to see. She's my choice and should be yours as well. I try to shake my head in defiance, but Reeks responds to contradict my actions. You are the most fitting candidate here, Fawn. And when it comes to your turn, you will show what it is I see in you. You haven't even seen me before. You don't know me. I panic again as Reek's onslaught of affection. I know enough just gazing in your eyes. He brushes his hand through my hair and then returns to his seat as the gray figure speaks up. Very well. The diplomatic actions through the rogue of Sapphire relinquishes his chance to look toward relinquishes his chances to look towards the others. I've been asked to see if any of the rest of you feels the same. Please speak up, but keep in mind, your words will not remove your name from consideration. It will only cause you not to take action on the talent part. I start to stand, but feel a pressure pull me back down to my seat. I turn to see Reeks with his hands on me. Don't spoil what I just given you, my love. I watch as Amayo and Savo and Grendel all take a stand. Very well. The scientist Amayo of gold, the muse of Savo of lavender, and the blade of Grendel of emerald. All three of you wish to stand down, then it'd be noted. Before the gray figure can finish, another figure stands, and this time it's Markov. I too wish to stand down, because going on the traits of this test, I feel I won't be outstanding as others. But I ask the team to keep in mind, one of us is under punishment, and it's not fair. So please do not forget that in judging, that in their looks and actions. So I ask you to vote for Min Gang. Markov returns to his seat as the gray figure returns to speaking. Very well. The savage Markov of Topaz stands down as well. Are there any others feeling the chances to be futile to continue with this? A figure visibly sighs in disappointment as Nazim and Cassandra both stand as well. I feel my choice as Minos might hurt my chance as a game and the game sales, but I don't want to frighten the potential sales. Cassandra says, I have no doubt I will be the next on the skills test, and our newest member has already shown the same kind of talent I have. Then I will step down and let my other talents or other traits speak for themselves. Nassim retorts and nods towards Min, causing to feel an uneasy alliance strongly forged with him, being confirmed at the top of Markov's earlier words, making Min's threats to everyone seem far more real. Very well, then the healer Cassandra of Steel, the mage Nassam of Citron, stand down as well. This leaves Princess Emmy, Fawn, and Kylie, and Prince Min as the only ones remaining in talent test. And after all the experiences, next up is Princess Emmy of Gold. Emmy walks up with the two large piles of cards to the white space. Hey, gray guy, give me 24 targets and spread them good. Emmy is by no way shy. She lets her sister like her sister, and starts to look around as the forms of the wire creatures come into view. She lets out a huge wide grin, and both her hands show a collection of nearly a dozen cards. She turns and tosses a card after card in direction towards the targets. All the cards stop in midair, a few feet from her. Magic power, seek the targets, lock on, and release. Suddenly, several different forms of elements disperse and launch from the cards. each blast at the target landing a blow. I can't help but clap in amusement at Emmy's skill with her magic. She leans her arm behind her and behind her head and starts to walk back with a grin unflinching. Yeah, I got 'em all, Emmy was proudly proclaims. Negative, Princess Emmy. You have missed 8 targets. Your hasty actions leave a battle when it's not finished shows sloppy work, the gray figure states. But I stand in shock. I can't handle 16 targets in one attack, let alone 24. The 24 she took on. How could it be sloppy? She only used 1 attack. Well, can't be helped. I guess the attack is impressive, but that's all my mana for a while. She winks at me. See, I told you the card mage class is impressive fun. I can't help but nod in agreement. If I had seen a cool attack like that as an option, I may have chosen it as well. Well then, the card mage Emmy of Gold has completed her test to an acceptable action. Up next is Kylie of Silver. I snapped out of my praise for Emmy to gain sense of shock that my name is yet to be called. How could Kylie and Emmy be less experienced than I? Well, at least I believe men will be higher than me, and likely the ones to step down could also have been more powerful. I turn and look at Kylie, already cleaning up the 8 targets. Emmy left by, flying above and shooting down each target with a blast from a rifle. The sniper Kylie of Silver has completed the task and done so in a minute and a half, targeting all targets in their vital spots of their body. Naturally, I catch a target in my sight. They will not live to take another action. The cool and beautiful Kylie proclaims before returning to her seat. I prepare to stand up before the gray figure speaks. Next is the second most experienced player of the group, and stands only a level behind the most experienced player. What? No way am I only a level less than Min. Min Gang of Ruby, please show us your talent. No, it can't be. I stand with shocked look, quickly turn to see the furious rage of Min as he looks at me in turn. How can this worthless woman have more experience than I? I demand then you let me that my skill be tested against hers and be treated fair, as such as my equipment must be returned. The gray figure with no face looks a bit puzzled at the request, with a sudden change in Min's rags, turning to an ornamental set of armor with a massive two-handed sword, shows the judges agree his request. Very well, this will be the final test, and both of you and Princess Von Midden will be asked to give it all in an all-out combat. The gray figure states. I can't help but feel a very familiar knot hit my stomach as I reach for my inventory and grab the mage's staff. Min walks to the space and I drag my feet, but soon join him. Ready, begin, shouts the gray figure. Min takes no chances to instantly charging at me with the heft of his sword. I try to reach it in time by casting an earth barrier, but find my timing is off, as I'm forced to dodge a gust of wind from the edge of Min's sword. I try to move in close enough to strike Min with a punch, but my attack is stopped by his strong armor. Your failed blows cannot damage my armor, woman. He reaches in with an arm, handling his two-handed sword in one hand, as he catches my body, or catches a hold of me by the neck. As soon as he notices his attempt to capture me is successful, he begins to squeeze. I feel a small shock that starts to repeat as he continues to attempt to choke me. I reached to tap my fist with the mage's staff through the pain and watch as the blue flames enveloped my fists and arms. A mage hand. And here I thought you were some silly magic user. Now it makes sense why you attack unarmed. But no matter, you still have no hope of breaking my grasp. I grit my teeth and take a large gasp of air in between shocks. Aereo Ascension. A collection of magical wings spread out and break the grasp of Min has on me and grants me a moment of pain-free breath. Yet he reacts quickly, grasping his sword with both hands. But my hasty action to fly up out of his reach is just enough to stay out of getting hurt again. Running, just as I thought, coward. Min inhales and spits up towards me as I take an action to avoid that as well. I instead dive down on him, thrusting both fists enveloped in flame at the armored jerk's body. Where they hit, the flames blast away the finely decorative armor, as if it was flash paper to an open flame. He goes to swing his sword and catches me in the shoulder, which sends me sliding briefly. I slide back and grab my footing, taking a sudden step forward, this time repeating my first attack, now on the unarmed Min. Suddenly, or the sudden grunt of pain coming from him, tells me I have very much landed a strong enough blow to hurt him in payback for the choking earlier. While he's recovering, I move quickly to do a leg sweep and send him crashing to the ground, where I pin him down with the mage's staff pressed against his neck. Do you yield? I shout at him. This is no victory for you. I will yield, as I have no defense against your magic. But next time we face, I will be sure to be ready for your childish tricks. Min grits his teeth, and his face turns red. I release my near threat to crush him where he lays helpless. Very well, then. Mage Hand Fawn of Onyx wins the match versus Warrior Min of Ruby. And with that, we end the tests. Please wait while the judges cast their votes, and we will compare them with the already gathered scores. I start to walk away as Min stands up, but soon regret the decision as shock hits me, and I turn to see Min, and his reaction of his loss has cut at me while my back was turned. I go to react quickly, but find both of our weapons vanish. The fight is over. There will be no more fighting at this time between you two. The votes have been tallied, and we have a clear winner. The group stops and stands breathless, except for Cassandra, who's been moving to cast a healing spell on me. The winner, a new idol of the game, is Fawn Midden of Onyx. The words of the gray figure turn my knot in my stomach to one of great sickness, and I quickly log off in frustration. I find myself standing alone in the kitchen as I pour some cold water across my face and try to clear the sink of the mess I just made. The task before me weighs heavy. I am no longer Jamie Eve, game designer. No. In a matter of a few weeks, I went from Jamie Eve to Fawn Midden, the voice of Black Kingdom, and finally to Fawn Midden, the face of 11 kingdoms. The idea causes my throat to convulse in pain again. I return to messing up the sink that I just rinsed out. Report end. Access next report. So that was chapter 6. We finally get to meet the wonderful grand heroes, some of which will be playing a much larger role throughout the story. Some of them are just going to be background. But yeah, I wanted to kind of have a mix of both personalities and character-wise. Min is very much Fawn's rival throughout the story. We'll be seeing him, of course, several times throughout the book come into play. And we'll also be seeing Reeks, his self-proclaimed fiance, several times in the game, in the book. Along with the Princesses of Gold Kingdom, which we've been introduced to before. Other characters will play smaller roles. Cassandra and Kylie will both play smaller roles, as well as, I believe, Malik. I'm already kind of sore in the throat, so I'm probably going to go ahead and say I'm not going to be doing a stream tomorrow, because this is definitely showing a lot of stress here now, and this is me still recovering. I will still be doing Saturday. We'll be doing a double stream again on Saturday. So you'll be able to see us do a double stream there. As far as Lesser Look, I am going to be getting out at least one that I filmed before surgery. We're going to be doing that hopefully by this weekend, getting that done and edited and out. We filmed it, we just haven't done the editing process of it, which shouldn't take long, but we should be getting it out. If it is not on YouTube, it will be going on to our Rumble page, as well as we'll try and put it on ImbriaArts.com itself. But as always, we are part of we do these streams on multiple levels. We do it on Twitch, we do it on YouTube, we do it on Facebook. So we're not on one platform at a time. We're on multiple platforms. We do tend to have more content with our YouTube when we aren't facing copyright issues for the stream or for the videos, particularly with Lesser Look. We tend to do a lot more gaming here with Twitch and Facebook. You can get all of it as well. We usually will share it all on there as well. And then Rumble is going to be sort of a collective area where we just get our stuff placed as well. So, yeah, just join in on any of those platforms. Of course, you're probably watching this through one of those platforms. As always, like, comment, and subscribe. We are about to get to it's the second to last chapter of Jamie being in the real world. Spoiler, Jamie is going to be sucked into the game. It's through the concept of the title. But yeah, this is her last vestige of escaping and having a life outside the real world. And that is what it's chapter 7. So we're going to be going with that. Report. Beta begins. Accessing company logs. Gaming news blog. Lining up for beta. Bart Mindell, Gaming Insider Access, April 3rd, 2067. Thousands of people worldwide are lined up for a chance to be one of the 11,000 chosen to play the 11 Kingdoms beta this Friday. It's just 3 days till the doors will open, and only a lucky 7,500 players worldwide in each of the 11 towers will get a chance to play. Each tower has already sold 250 rooms out of the press, politicians, stars of stage and screen, and a few lucky contest winners. And now the remaining 750 rooms in each tower will house Lucky Gaming's fans, some of which have sat out in front of the tower since the announcement of the beta release 2 months ago at a massive multi-games expo, where the game's icon and character Fawn Midden announced to the lucky fans would have a shot at gaining access to the tower before the public, to gain access to test the game system along with the staff in the beta release. Security has been called in by the respected cities to handle the process of approving the fans lined up in taking part in what is becoming not only gaming history, but in many ways, world history. It's gotten so crazy that some of the fans have rushed to the Onyx Tower with hopes to meet Jamie Eve, the staff member who is the player of Fawn Midden, in the last week. Word is due to the issue that the access to the floors that Miss Eve lives on is under the same security protection as the President of the United States in the White House. Which is just a few miles from Onyx Tower's own location. But with good reason. Security is not just for the mass of fans who won't get in, but also for the small gatherings of anti-kingdom groups. Daily protests of the game's beta launch bring in new members of people setting up camp. One such group in Vegas Tower last week caused an incident that some of the fans and the police in riot gear had to be called in to calm the situation down, as well as arrest many of the instigators of the incident. In many ways, I would hate to be Jamie Eve right now. For now, she's surely feeling like a classic princess locked in a tower. File source end. Accessing personal data log, Princess Vaude Midden. Alternative source, Journal of Jamie Eve. Would you calm down? Jamie, you're wearing a dent in the floor. Moses boasts as the others sit in the team's meeting room table. 2 guards stand outside the door of the room. I can't help it. I'm stir crazy. I haven't been out of the tower in a month. It's been 2 weeks since they let me downstairs. Moses, go easy on her. The girl can only get fresh air by opening a window till the whole launches begin behind us. Relax, sweetie. You're only a few hours getting out then. Melissa states calmly. Like that's even possible for her. Gavin wheezes. I've almost forgotten how he sounded in real life. The way he acted in the game made it hard to note who he was. Once it starts, we will only be too busy. I hate to admit, but the beta will be just a small stepping stone. Sure, when it starts, we'll be working around the clock, looking at any errors that arise. Few of us will have any breaks. Sadly, I think Fawn, most of all, as the office heads want her working on press events, along with her in-game duties, that will keep her very busy in the coming days. Jamie may have gotten better at handling crowds, but her celebrity status is about to be tried to its limits. Rick states with a bit of nerve shaking his speech. Over the last few months of working with Rick, I've come to see that many of the anxiety I had is now being transferred to him. As we work with the polished details of the game, I turn to look from the game group and look on at security doors outside the door. One is talking along his communicator, relaying current events of the hour, giving an all clear. I couldn't sleep much in the last few nights. I keep hearing the radios of security talking in the hall, I proclaim. Well, that should clear up when the crowds clear out after beta, Rick replies. Yeah, but still, I need security to go everywhere. I go to a restaurant, they're there. I want to see a movie. Who sits right next to me? Why, it's a dark-suited security officers. I can't even imagine how this would be if I was dating someone. Hell, I haven't even been to therapy session in weeks because of this mess. I start to hyperventilate while I start to crack up in my speech. Jamie, breathe. You knew when you agreed to go through with being the game's idol character, you would be dealing with the high-stress moments. Rick calms himself down, noting that I'm panicking simply because I hear panic arise in his voice as well. Just sit down, and we will go over the info the main office sent up for us to follow on launch. I hesitantly take my seat, and Rick lets out a sigh of relief while he picks up the tablet before him. The report being sent to all staff in the building on playing in character, and given a warning to staff to remember when in game to be in character. Of course, we all should know that by now. I look at Gavin, who has a smile crawl across his face. As I say, I told you so, to myself and Melissa, as we both have been the weakest in the group in staying in character during the last few weeks. The judge and his assistants are asked to stay active in the game till the staff sends you notice otherwise. This is to be both combat issues that may arise, but also to act as a steady issue for judgment on the tasks of players. Moses groans. Man, we better hit the bed after this, Rick. We're not going to get much sleep after this goes live. Yeah, looks like it. I'm having some staff on floor 32 help out, but you and I will have to set up a rotating schedule to at least as long as we have to. Rick replies with a sleepy look. I can tell that I'm not the only one not sleeping well, from the look of the last few days of work across the faces of all my fellow teammates. Rick continues on the notice. The order players are to gather their active team members and to set up a planned timeline to have all vital areas covered to prevent player cheating. Melissa, I do pity you. Melissa lets out her sigh. Yeah, I kind of figured as much. So, I guess I set up a run every 5 floors to have their order members working on the cities and towns of the kingdom. I figure 12-hour shifts of 2 should work for the time being. Lastly, the Genesis players are to take part in creating a welcoming environment and leading the players through the game. Rick looks somewhat comfortable at this choice the company has for me. Well, that shouldn't be too hard, I heard Gavin. Hard, Gavin. I think we can deal with that, I note. Not you, maybe. But I could in my sleep, boasting a wheezing sentence. I stand amazed at the confidence he holds in many ways, even though I won't let him or won't tell him. I'm jealous about it. There's more for you, though, Rick proclaims, looking at me. I respond with a quiet rolling of my eyes, proclaiming my non-surprise to the orders. Fawn Midden is to host a welcoming event for new players and explains the event for the members of the press of the game. Also, she's to attend a gathering at the Nook Alliance, the 3rd night after the launch date, along with the other Grand Heroes for a press event that has a joining of nations to welcome the game's players. Looks like somebody can hang out with her lover, Moses jokes. While the rest of the group joins in laughing, I find myself melancholy on planned events that have been set for me to take part in. Over the past months, I found my time playing had often been joined by the twin princes of Argua, as well as the hero of Azurfire, Charlie Reeks, who has sought to try and push some role-playing on me by declaring himself Fawn's lover. Because of this, the game has the 2 of us working together in press events, even though the brainless dolt bores me when we have to run a few practice dates for the characters. If Charles' player is anything like he is in real life, I hope never to date the man. Seems rather tame to me, so what's wrong with him? I just have to lead the press around and see the world, how that we virtually live. Big deal, I sigh out and proclaim. Actually, it says here, from now on, the game will follow you, and the other heroes as well, reporting on your daily lives in-game. Kind of like a virtual reality TV show. Rick pauses to see my reaction, which he knows is coming, and on cue, I follow through. I groan in pain and begin to hide my head under my arms in hopes it somehow creates an invisible barrier where I can live till I die. You're a TV star. Now, congrats. Moses pats me on the back, proving my invisible barrier isn't working well enough to hide me from the rest of the room, let alone the world. Is there any way they can leave me in peace at some point in my life? I cry out. It'll only be Central collecting points on your events each week. They plan to post them as promotional devices for the game, as well as to get sponsors for the game. Words make an imaginary knife in my back be hammered in further. Why not just stick cameras in my shower? I groan from my invisible barrier. It would raise the number of male players. Moses snarks back with a chuckle at his work of genius in his mind. Welcome to the world of the famous Jamie Eve. Rick replies, equally joking the remark, like Moses. Turning my head in my barrier. Gee, thanks. I'll remember you peons when the crowd outside starts ripping me limb from limb to gather the collectible body parts of Fawn Midden. Come get a piece of the game icon's player's body. Who wants to trade her spleen for her gallbladder? Even I find myself giggling on that one, as the sleep deprivation is causing me to lose it. Right. I guess I have final orders for you all, and that's to get some rest. We have to be active in 36 hours. So as we go live in 40, take some time away from the game, Jamie. Do some exercise in the hall or something. But I don't want any of you active in the game till go time. Got me? The group is mostly unable to lift their heads and nod in agreement and head off to gather what sleep we can. I get supported in the standing position and in turn support Melissa in the opposite as we walk down the hall, each of us depending on the other to keep our upright balance from having to resort to crawl to our rooms. I look at a pile of trash I had tossed out of my room for house cleaning, which is yet to get since the weekly lockdown on the floor. Cleaning hasn't been permitted, and some are permitted to come, and the stench is starting to bother me. You need some fresh air in this hall, Melissa replied, knowing full well the only option I have is the balcony of my apartment, though it has come to mind to follow that Gail's use of throwing cigarettes over the rail as a possible solution to my trash problem. I need some peace and quiet, I sleepily reply. Why not log out of the game? Find a part of the world, why not log in the game? Find a quiet part of the world and zone out for life. I mean, we know you slept in that chair before, Melissa suggests. It might be a solution, but it's never comfortable. Their Neuralink always pulls, and the last time I tried it, the open fields of the world, I was woken by several shocks as half my character's life had been taken out by a wandering boss fight. I think I might just as well sleep in Fawn's bed at the castle, I respond, pausing only a few seconds to let out a yawn. It's a surefire way for Rick to find you. And after he told us to stay out of the game for 36 hours, it won't be a good to face punishment if you're caught. Yeah, her bed's 1,000 times better than mine. I have clothes piled on mine. Recently, I've just been sleeping in a chair on my couch in front of the TV. At least you all can go out and have fun, I reply with jealous disgust for Melissa's freedom out of the game. Maybe I have a plan. Go get a change of clothes, and I'll come by and pick you up. Melissa seems more alert and snorting a sly smile. What are you planning? I ask, trying to understand the devious smile on her face. I'm devising an escape plan. Just think of what you want to do when we bust out. Melissa dashes with a newfound vigor to her door and goes inside as I fumble with the door to my room. What do I want to do? I want to sleep. Maybe get some sun and exercise. While the idea of rest hits my mind, the dismay of my room makes my energy jump and dig around for some clean clothes and start to change as I knock on the door as I finish putting on the shirt when I open it to find Melissa with a trash cart from downstairs. I wanted you to have a change of clothes for after we got you downstairs. She grabs a shirt and a skirt and tosses them in along with a bottle of body spray in a trash bag at the bottom of the cart. Now get in, lay low, and say nothing. Don't even make a noise. What about the Neuralink? I questioned, as I figured she had no answer but for a quick motion to pull the links, sending pain down the back of my neck. Hurt. She then brought in a pet cat she's been taking care of, placing the Neuralink on its back with tape to the feline's collar. The cat showed he didn't like it and started clawing away at the collar in vain and hoped to remove it. That should fool the monitors long enough for us to head out. But I won't lie, we both can land in big trouble going through with this, she states as she puts down a bowl of water and the cat food for the pet. I replied in a way only I felt I could, by hopping feast first into the garbage can, my shoes instantly finding the stickiest, sickening smell of glop to land in. I start to cry out, but quickly muzzle my mouth as Melissa starts a pile of bags of trash from the hall onto me to add to camouflage to my escape. I feel the cart rock down the hall and watch Melissa pile on more trash bags from the meeting room and other piles the gang had placed in the hall. The guards halted her briefly to simply add a pile of their own before we reached the elevator. Unable to see if we were alone, I remained silent through the descent. Eventually, the cart was up and moving again, as I started to feel a cool liquid run down my back. Most public places are out now. I guess I want to desperately cry out at the cool feeling when I suddenly feel the weight on my back lighten and hear Melissa speak up. Great, it worked. I quickly climb out of the trash cart with my bag of clothes and change into at hand. As I look around, we were in the employees' parking lot, under the tower. Melissa chooses the dumpster here to place the empty trash. While I'm glad to see the trash removed, I'm frightened at the chance that this escape may have been caught and that the security is just toying with me, waiting to drag me back with just as we flee. Melissa pushes me into a near crawl as we rush to a nearby spot where her car was parked. Opening the trunk, she gestures for me to get in. Get in. Once we get to a few blocks away, I'll get you out, and we can head off wherever for the day we want to go. As I was squeezing in the trunk, I remembered I failed to grab my DAS in our journey. Digging in my bag, in the dark, I find a jacket. Melissa pulled and searched the pockets, mistakenly releasing a video ad programmed for the day to play on the clothing. I watch as a silly commercial plays out and about some cleaning product, but my bundling of my jacket to use as a headrest hushes the noise it makes. The ride is far bumpier than I thought I would like, as though I bonk my head through the car, or head from the car heading over the bump in the garage entrance. Ignoring the pain, a sigh of relief hits me. It's the first time in months I'm free to be me. My first actions of freedom while I was dozing off to a nap in an uncomfortable trunk. I woke several minutes later, being shaken awake by Melissa. The city was nowhere to be seen. It's about time you returned to the world of living, girl. Guess you haven't slept much. I tried to wake you up, back in D.C., but you just kept sleeping, so I drove us on out of town, figuring it would be good to avoid the guys looking for us now. They know we're gone? I asked, looking at the fading daylight for the first time from the ground level in weeks. Yeah, they found out about an hour ago when they brought you some supper. The cat came running out and they found your link. Rick called and chewed me a new one. You're in trouble. I'm sorry, Melissa. I replied with great disappointment about landing her in trouble. We're both in trouble, but Rick understands you need some time away from the tower. So I made sure to tell him we headed north to Annapolis, and we'll be back tomorrow afternoon. Once again, I see an evil grin in Melissa hid her face. So we're headed to Annapolis? I looked pointed, puzzled, but willing to go ahead with the escape. No. Instead, we're heading to the Shenandoah Mountains. Figure we send the suit guys in the wrong direction. We'd at least get a night of peace. Anyway, here. Melissa tosses a ball cap and sunglasses at me. Your look makes you stick out too much, sweetie. I suggest you cover up your hair of yours. Hurry up now and get changed. We can head off for the day to the mountains. I never saw the mountains outside of pictures and films. It wasn't I never had the chance. It was always never having time to do it. Many in my class made weekend trips there. Here, I was headed with Melissa to the mountains at the time most visitors ignored. My classmates would make trips to see the mountain in the winter for skiing, in the fall for views to escape the temperatures of the city, temperatures in summer, but the spring was time mainly ignored in the mountains and looked to places like D.C. and the cherry blossoms. I stepped out of the car and looked about while we have stopped at a hydro fuel station. Guess the sudden change in the plans got Melissa the idea to have to fuel up for the month on hydrogen fuel. Needed to run her car. I look at the road ahead to see the classic car nearby filling up on the petrol. And the driver is inspecting his tires from the neglect of the road maintenance. Over the past few years, since most vehicles have switched to hover technology to avoid building of accident pool caused by tire blowouts, few cars needed the rubber and tires, and fewer still ran on gasoline. Nowadays, only classic car lovers risk the roads. They do so with tires that are designed to be stronger to poor road qualities. The roads for most cars these days don't need to be smooth, just flat. And with computer control, the driver has to drive when it feels like being adventurous or wants to explore the open road. Melissa presses the DOS against the machine to change her account or to charge her account, and cost 200 of 200 of our 10 gallons. We get in the cars and I quickly change into the clothes Melissa gave me, throwing on a baseball cap which plays an advertisement for the team's tickets on sale and explaining how I can order them now with my DAS. I ignore it and continue to cover my hair completely before we are headed off to our chosen destination. The two of us stopped at a small diner when the view of the mountains first came into view to grab a bite to eat. The black circles around Melissa's eyes showed in the fluorescent haze of the diner. I slept for about 2 hours in the trunk while she drove us away from the whole mess. Now the long hours for her took a great toll. She tried to resolve it with a cup of black coffee, but she was dozing off before the cup even hit the table. I woke her to take a drink for her mental fuel and brought her back to the mode I could carry a conversation with. Well, where should we go? I asked. Melissa took a big sip of coffee before answering me. I figure we can find a motel in the mountains. Then in the morning, we can head and check out a park. Bit of quiet privacy for you, just like you asked for. How much trouble do you think we're in? I asked, knowing full well it won't be pleasant returning home. Not sure, but I would guess I'll be suspended for a while after the beta. May just dock your pay as they don't have choice suspending you. She finishes off her cup and gestures for the waitress to replenish her now empty cup. Looks like a lack of sleep isn't just hitting me. Can you make it to the motel? I ask, since we don't have a destination. We're stuck with her, taking over the driving from the in-car computer controls. I watch as the waitress walks up to the pot and Melissa instantly begins to drink from the cup without letting it so much as steam escape from the ceramic confines. It won't take much more than an hour to get to a motel. Should be fine until then, even though I may have not slept much. My end has simply been because of the work schedule and the stress of the game's success. You, on the other hand, have far more to lose. Melissa gets interrupted in her speech as the waitress brings us our food. I feel a tense knot in my stomach, and the BLT I ordered suddenly looks less appetizing than I felt it would be. A glob of mayo that drips on the side of the sandwich causes my throat to gag a bit. Melissa looks on and gets stern with me. Eat. You haven't had a bite in almost a day. You'll need the energy. I grab a chip and nibble at it, while Melissa digs in onto a chicken sandwich. The door of the diner chimes, and neither of us look up. 3 men in suits with dark glasses walk out to our table and cough. Melissa doesn't even look over at them when she responds. Guess the trip is over. What kept you guys? The smallest suit stood, and someone that could only go toe-to-toe with one gorilla on his own speaks up for the others. We were stationed outside the tower. When they found out you two left, we used our sources to lock on your dad's signal to find you. Melissa takes a big bite of her sandwich, but continues to speak with the food in her mouth. The days where someone can live under the radar are gone, huh? I remain silent, just go on nibbling a chip, taking note at all the eyes on the diner have locked on Melissa and I. Look, guys, the girl just needs some time away from the tower, some fresh air. For God's sake, at least you can let her eat a meal out of that prison. You all keep putting her in. I take notice as many of the groups with children have started to shelter their children from them. What they can only gather an assumption that we are felons on the run. It's okay, Melissa. Thanks for trying to give me some time, but I see now that my life isn't my own anymore. I turn to the waitress, ignoring the security guards. We need our bill and to-go bags, please. I decide in frustration to remove the ball cap, hiding my hair, and hear a cry from a teenage boy. It's the girl from 11 Kingdoms game, another fills. And Princess Fawn? Cries another, causes to lay my head to the table, and 2 of the 3 men stand in position to block people from moving in to talk to us. The sense of tension flees, and the diner patrons and moves on to focus slowly on me. But before I can even turn my face, the building crowd of fans, I am lifted and run out the door. I watch as the diner sway in a blur as the hulking security guard tosses me into the back seat of Melissa's car. I lift my head to see the guard, along with Melissa, running towards the direction of the car, while the one that threw me in the car is already pushing back the crowd. I hear a sudden click of the driver's seat move back as the last guard I never saw adjusts the car seat. It's obvious now who's been driving will be driving the rest of the way, and that any hopes of seeing the mountains in the light of day fade as Melissa hops into the front passenger seat. "Hey, pal, easy on the car," she screams at the man now in charge of both our lives, with the life of Melissa's vehicle. I'm sure he ignored her cries as the car motion began the moment Melissa had her feet in the car. We'd be at least 300 feet from the diner before the passenger door would finally be completely shut. When Melissa was able to calm down, she handed me the hat that I left behind. "Take it." And see that at the time she took time to shove the food in napkins and offered me a chance to finish my meal. Not the best last meal, but here, you need it more than I do. I looked down at the pile of food now collected in the hat. The chips I had earlier found as the only thing I was capable to eat. Now looked on at the most luxurious dish I would ever get to see again for days. Sure, I had chips, even ones similar to that kind I had here and now, but these chips I was able to gain on my own, where my taste of freedom, albeit a short-lived one. I remember little talking went on in the ride. Sleep hit Melissa rather suddenly, to a way that I cared to guess the waitress was likely sneaking decaf on her. For someone who was in their car as a stranger drove and your friend in the middle of the night of a very place you were running away from, she looked to find peace. I, on the other hand, laid my head up, watching the street lights and overhead signs pass in the night. The radio that Melissa had played had been cut off. It was replaced with the quiet sound of the engine chatter over the security guard comlink. Part of me wanted to play an old trick I did when I was younger, on my mom, fogging up the window and writing "help me." I laughed at the memory of my mother being pulled over and having an explain the situation to the cop that I was playing a stupid joke. As we drove a long path from some friend's home in South Carolina to ours to Miami, grandmother would carry a very stern look when Mom looked on, but she turned away when I saw a grin and heard a chuckle from her position up front. How I wish this was the case, but as we drove closer to the outer limits of Northern Virginia border, I saw the flashing police lights. This meant only one thing, that we would get them to pull us over, as if the car was under a heavy attack. Police lights made looking out the rear window less fun, as the blue and red flashes caused the other lights to dim. The more we came into D.C., the night sky would fade to be replaced by a disgusting yellowish-brown sky, filled with flashes of lights from passing vehicles and city lights. I gave up and turned to my lower head, praying for it all to be over, and eventually I dozed off. The bump of the parking garage entrance startled Melissa awake. "You didn't wreck my car, did you?" A very grouchy Melissa sleepily spoke, trying to find some way to punish the guard from ruining the planned vacation. I went to sit up and found much of the food in my hat had a more secure place on my jacket. I let out a disgusting groan, wiping the residue of a chicken sandwich from my jacket. I ignored the car coming to a stop until the hands would reach in and grab me. While I wasn't lifted away this time, I was instead instead dragged like an unwilling 5-year-old going to a doctor's office when a shot was called for. Unable to fight the strength of the guard, I was turned around and saw Rick standing there. He looked far worse than he did earlier that day. "You're back," he simply noted, turned away with a steady grimace on his face. He started to walk away, but halted in the noise of the car's door slam and Melissa adding in her view of the matter. "What's the big deal, boss?" Jamie needed some fresh air. "So you bring the goon squad down on us for trying to let the girl live?" Without turning to face each other, of us very tired, very angry voice of Rick shouts back, "It wasn't my call. You two acted recklessly, and the company had to take action. Right now they see Jamie as company property, and you, Melissa, as a thief. I spent the last 6 hours fighting to let you keep your job. Now both of you will go to bed, be confined to the floor only, and we will discuss the further actions with the corporate heads in the morning. Vacation is over." I look on as a very tired man I held with high praise stumbled in front of us. I noticed his wife was walking alongside with their child in their arms, who herself was sleepy, but now awake from the booming fury of her father's words. I decided not to act worse than this poor kid and move along back to the place I began to feel was my very prison cell. I stumbled along and found my way to a bed. Sleep hit me so quickly, I failed to think about changing out of my jacket that now bore my freedom meal all over it. That night, I dreamed a very vivid dream, where Melissa, myself, and Fawn had all wondrous time in the mountains. Melissa eventually left to go back to the city, while Fawn and I started to build a home out of rocks, trees, and leaves. Days passed, and the home took on more and more shape. Then one day, I worked in the interior to hear a metal clink and watch as bars surrounded the doors and windows of the home. I looked out and watched as Fawn played in the sun, tromping the grass, splashing in a nearby brook, while I stayed in my prison, rotting away. I looked on as my body began to fade and the cheerful laughter of Fawn got louder and louder. I go to scream but make no noise. Then suddenly it all goes black, and a growing loud beep in my head wakes me from my sleep. Somehow, I forgot in my haste yesterday to turn off the damn alarm. I reached to slam the hand on the button to prevent further annoyance to me. I make my way to the kitchen, reaching for the bottles of OJ I had placed in the fridge and plop it down in front of a small notebook and a pen, my dream journal. Since the death of my grandmother, my therapist insisted I keep this. He felt it was with the loss of a person I felt like my closest friend. It was good to know what I was feeling by looking into my dreams. Up until now, I rarely have written more than some really weird ones. But it didn't take a doctrine to tell me what last night's dream was about. I was losing myself, and Fawn was becoming the one everyone noticed. The night before the diner proved the moment my hat flew off. It wasn't Jamie Eve they were calling or saying was there. It was Fawn, a fictional character, a fictional world that I created and played. Had far more confidence as Fawn. I felt freer as her as well. In her world, I could venture anywhere and have peace and freedom. As Jamie Eve, I was barely able to see the sun as long as it passed the windows of the apartment or office, or even on a rare occurrence of me going out to do an interview for the tower. I look up and see the sky was just breaking from the yellowish brown to a purple blue with hints of yellow mixed about. I felt tempted to open the windows and let the air in, but my mind wanders trying to figure out what day of the week trash day is. A day that brings the stench of the city down upon us, more so the heat from the summer outside. Just thinking the smell of the of just thinking of the smell makes me gag even before the OJ touched my lips. But I find my mind is working so hard on discovering the smell, which I suddenly begin to smell the stench. Or maybe it's something else. I look down and finally notice I'm still wearing the jacket from last night, which is in turn is still partly wearing dinner on it. Now the stink I thought was my imagination hits me, as nearly 12 hours of unrefrigerated mayo and bacon, lettuce, tomato, mixed in with whatever Melissa's chicken sandwich had, seeped into both my clothes, likely my bed, and from the smell of my skin now carried. What only a few hours ago I saw as the greatest luxury for me now smells like a rotting dung heap, and I'm used to having my life fall into. I only go as far as getting my jacket off before I'm interrupted from going further in a quest for a shower when a knock is made at the door. Reluctantly, I go to open the door, fully expecting men in suits to drag me to a meeting to discuss my and Melissa's future with the company. But as the door opens, I'm surprised to find Rick's wife standing at the door with a bag of donuts. Look, I'm sorry to be here so early. I wanted to talk to you for a minute. I looked at the sleep-deprived woman, whose clothing is almost stained as mine with spills from her daughter. He feels sorry that you two couldn't flee. I look at the woman, shocked. What do you mean? He didn't want us caught, I ask. The lack of sleep breaks her voice as she continues. Rick sees a lot of himself in you. When I first met him in college, he was the shyest boy there. But his skills thrust him to the limelight, and in a place where he wasn't comfortable with. But he had a way out. The company wouldn't even let me go downstairs to see a nurse. I speak from experience. A few weeks ago, I had caught a virus, and the company brought the doctor in to visit me in my home, refusing to let me go downstairs to the company nursing station on the first floor. You're a precious gem in their eyes, in the eyes of both the company and all those lives outside the building and throughout the world. A jewel so precious that must only be seen behind secure glass, lest one of the people who wish to should take it from the world. I shudder at the thought of being an object of desire, like how this woman explained about me. Rick is worried you're taking a risk that would bring you harm. He's merely trying to protect you. That is why he fought so hard yesterday to make sure you and Melissa, kept your place in the company. He may not be old enough to be your father, but he treats you much the same way he does our daughter. He just wants you to be safe. We all do. The room is uncomfortably quiet after her words. The only sound breaking the silence is the bag rustling as she places the 2 donuts down. One is for you, one is for your friend Melissa. I'll leave you to go back to your resting. The woman walks out of the room, closing the door behind her, and for a few minutes I sit there quietly in my newly discovered stink, thinking over her words of comfort to me. A few hours pass, and a shower made most of the stench fade from my skin. I threw on a pair of sweats and a t-shirt before being escorted to the conference room on the floor Top floor. Melissa was already sitting there, with a sad look on her face. I placed both donuts in front of her. One is from Rick and his wife. The other's from me. Thanks for the vacation. I gave her an uneasy smile as I took my seat. I could see through the glass doors that Gail was here, smoking her cigarettes and shouting at someone not there. I can only guess it was a call with the higher-ups in the company. The elevator dings with a yawning Rick, and unusually well-dressed and groomed Bart steps off the elevator together. They say nothing and take their seats. Rick looks over to see the donuts in front of Melissa and nods. Through the window, Gail throws the remains of her cigarette over the rail and walks in with her face almost completely purple, despite the thick layer of makeup to cover the browning skin from her cigarette habit. When suddenly a screen drops down from the ceiling and turns on. The image of 3 people in different boxes on the screen appears, all dressed in suits. I take my time and recognize Carlos Galo, the head of Black Clover Gaming. Mitchell Vinn, the man who very much is not only the company's president, but many claims that he's a hidden force of God, finance of God, of both real and virtual worlds. Seeing his face on the screen causes my stomach to ache, in fear not only for myself but for Melissa. The third is a woman I fail to recognize. Gail walks sternly before us and starts the punishment meeting. We all know why we're here. Due to the actions yesterday of Miss Bra and Miss Eve to escape the tower for some relaxation. They caused a major security breach and risked the life of Miss Eve, who is the company's current most valuable asset. Now, luckily, their actions created little more than some small commotion at a roadside diner in Page County. But we must punish them for their actions that caused potential risks to this company and the very life of Miss Eve. I watch as the one woman on the screen flips through papers. As I read the reports, both the security staff and Mr. Mathers from last night, neither suggested the threat to be all that high in the direction they headed. All reports stated the plan was merely to head to the mountains for the day for relaxation. Is what they report correct, Miss Jurade? The woman looks on at Gail, standing in the spot, stern in her form. That is for the two on judgment to say. A cold look is thrown by Gail, who turns to me and then Melissa. I go to speak, but find Melissa speaking first. I made the decision to both help her leave and where to go. Jamie had no call. She just went along for the ride. The fault is wholly on me, not her. She should not face punishment. I ask you all. The fault should lay on me. Carlos, now from his box, speaks. I concur the actions. Clearly now, Miss Bra acted like the one in charge. With that, I once again ask for her termination from the staff. Her reckless actions are what caused this mess. She should face the complete blame. I couldn't take it anymore and scream out the very man signing my paychecks. No, you fire Melissa for helping me, then fire me too. I've given all for this company. Not only my hard work and my time, but my life for this company. And the one time I'm given a moment of freedom, you attack her for giving me that freedom. I am not an object. I'm a human being. Stop. So quit treating me like I am less of a person. Punish both of us or neither of us. But if you fire her and not me, then I quit. The group stands quiet as one person coughs. Yet my focus is solely on the screen and Miss Gerard, so I miss seeing Rick stand up. The woman on the screen speaks up again. Well, there you have it, Mr. Jello. As stated in the report of Mr. Mathers, you fire Miss Brawl, then you face having to rehire the staff of Onyx 47. I looked shocked at the words that she said. Not only myself, but Moses, Rick, and Gavin all threatened to quit if they fired Melissa. Even Miss Eve is under contract, or given Miss Eve is under contract. Her quitting would result in a lawsuit. But if we had to replace the full staff, including the face of the game, we would suffer a greater loss of our sales. I see Bart stand up with Rick. Count me in as well. You're stating on punishing the girl for merely helping a friend. Someone who needed to play the pressure of these days that have passed are placed on her for us lifted away from her. If we fire people for helping out their coworkers, then I think the sales would be the last of our problems. I began to see Carlos speak up when his screen was cut off, and the president of the company began to speak up. Sorry, Carlos, cutting you off here. People, we have a little coup in our ranks, and that must be dealt with. You have us at a standoff here, Miss Eve. I feel Miss Braw's actions, whereas, as it's been said, has been done merely to concern of Miss Eve's benefit of relaxation, and with this, I recommend that both of you will face punishment equally. Therefore, you will both be placed on leave for a month after the game launches, for 2 weeks. At a company retreat, any further punishment will be pointless and merely hurt us far worse than others. I cannot stress the need for you to play it safe, Miss Eve. I have been informed by the staff that the mailroom has received several threats to your life, more so from the group of protesters about the game. So slipping out in the middle of the night for some rest is not the thing you can do without letting sources know. Places need to get vented first. Do you understand? Yes, sir. A smile hit my face as pressure on it is removed. Very well then. I suggest you all do your last preparations as we start the ball running in a beta in 8 hours. Good luck, Black Team. The screen goes dark, and Gail turns to look at me. Her face remains red as before. She then turns to Melissa. You're damn lucky, miss. Both of you. She storms out and returns to smoking on the balcony. When I stand to feel a pat on my shoulder from Rick. You know, I sent one of those to you, so you would eat something. I look at the one remaining donut in front of Melissa as she is sliding it to me. A reward for my valiant night in battle, Melissa says, placing it to turn back in front of me. I took the donut and smiled back at her. It was my pleasure, my lady. I gratefully accept and get out of the place grumble in my stomach. The two of us begin to laugh as our laughter is broken by Rick. Well, you two have to head down and get ready to go live soon. No more escapes attempts, okay? He walks off with Bart in tow to the elevator, leaving the two criminals to enjoy the fruits of their hard work. Hey, Melissa. Thanks for the wonderful vacation. It's certainly one I won't forget, nor will I, Princess. Time passes, and I toss the jacket in the trash, and I set myself in a chair. Leaning back, I hear a light click as the newly replaced link magnetically locks in the plug of the chair. I lower the helmet and the screen brings up the menu up. I move to the sign on screen and I'm taken back by what I see. Fawn stands there like a normal, doing basic waiting motions before I click start. All looks well or looks normal. All but the level. The day before, Fawn's level was 67. Now it's level 84. The glitch raised my level again. Only this time, I had not even played to gain the level. What was going on here? Not much I can do about it, nor why bother complaining. I mean, who would hate to have their character more powerful, right? I click on the login and watch the images and sounds of the world fade into view. I find myself standing in Fawn's bedroom, where I last left her. After adjusting the newfound points I have with the glitch levels, I step out of the room and proceed past the NPC guards, out the castle walls, watching as players appear into the view from the beta launch. I watch as they all turn to face the figure towering above them as I stand on a terrace. Taking a deep breath and swallowing it, I move forward and speak loudly as my voice is broadcasted, not only within the game, but screens around the world. Speaking the lines the writers wrote for me. Welcome to the new world. Welcome to 11 Kingdoms. Report end. Access next report. So, that is chapter 7 of 11 Kingdoms. As needless to say, it was a brief moment to sort of have Fawn go out, Jamie actually, go out and have a life outside of the game. But it goes to show also how tense the world has become and how much it is getting worse and worse for her. And it's only going to get worse. The next chapter will be, I believe, the next chapter should be the end of Fawn's time, or Jamie's time outside of the game. So we will be getting to that next week, God willing, with health concerns. I am going to take a break tomorrow, so there will be no gaming stream tomorrow. But there will be 2 Dining and Doodle drawings on Saturday, so we're going to be doing an extra long Dining and Doodles on Saturday, so you all can join in for that. I thank you all for joining in, and we will see you all again next time. And also, game of notes, what will be happening on Sunday is Final Fantasy VI. It's finally out. So, coming in on Sundays is going to be Final Fantasy VI. We'll be back with Pokemon on next Wednesday. I have done some leveling in the game, but I have not gone to the new area. So, we'll be back to the Pokemon on Wednesday and Spider-Man next Saturday. Hopefully, my voice will clear up. The Lesser Look will be out this weekend. We're gonna be down 1 episode this season, but we will be doing the sage with the strongest crest, or with the weakest crest, the strongest sage with the weakest crest. That is going to be our current review. That should be out hopefully Saturday afternoon. And until Saturday, I hope to see you all again. I want to say prayers for those unfortunately in Ukraine, and also prayers for Taiwan, because China's also threatening them. So it does look bleak out there, but until then, please, I hope that you have a wonderful evening, a wonderful week, and a wonderful year. Good night, everybody.